This is the Stop Time Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Hopkins, and I'm here to engage you in thought-provoking, motivational conversations around practicing the art of living in the moment. I'm a certified life coach, and I'm excited to dig deep and offer insights into embracing who we are and where we are at. The 14 artists featured in the New York Times Biggest Breakout Stars of 2019 were described as daring, defiant, and unwilling to be watered down. My next guest is one of these featured artists. She was named a 2019-2020 Fellow at Radcliffe Institute for Advanced Study at Harvard University, where she will be writing her next theatrical work. She recently collaborated with the legendary Latin jazz composer Arturo O'Farrill, premiering a show at the Joyce Theatre to rave reviews and sold-out audiences. Hailed by the legendary Gregory Hines as one of the top young tap dancers in the world, her work is rooted in the expression of identity, culture, language, and communication. She has been called a dance warrior, activist, Nuyorican, and an all-around badass, and describes herself as, quote, an artist with pretty cool rhythmic tendencies. Her name is Ayodele, and it is Yoruba for Joy Comes Home. It's with great pleasure that I introduce my next guest, Ayodele Casel. Ayodele, it's so great to have you here on Stop Time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So where are you spending most of your time these days?
Well, most of the inside my house where I am currently in New York, in the Bronx. Um, I did get an opportunity recently to visit my mom and my stepfather in Puerto Rico for about 3 weeks, which was much needed, and I loved that. But for the most part, I've been here in New York.
That's great. Hey, it's been almost 7 months now since Broadway shut down. Do you remember where you were?
Yeah, I had been on 7 planes between February 21st or so until like March 4th. I had just done my lecture at Harvard and I was in New Mexico. I went to Tennessee for something else, and then I went to Miami to work with young arts. And right around that time is when things were starting to sort of cook up COVID. And when we landed on March 4th, I was like, I think we need to like hunker down. So we kind of like hunkered down, my wife and I hunkered down like before it was like officially declared a pandemic. But yeah, I was here in the Bronx. I just come back from Miami.
Wow. What was your first concern?
Well, my first concern was, do we have everything we need? Are we prepared? Secondly, I was still in Cambridge because my fellowship year wasn't supposed to end until June. So I had not all of my stuff, but a good portion of my belongings were in Cambridge in an apartment. And so I was thinking, like, how is this going to work? How am I going to be able to get that? Like, just the logistics of, I don't want to pay double rent. What is happening? Happening was my first thought too. But yeah. Um, I was thankfully was really, really, really fortunate that I did not, even though a lot of work was canceled, I was still under a fellowship. So technically, I still had a stipend, and I was, finances weren't a concern in that way. I'm really grateful for that because I know so many artists and so many people, not just artists in the country, were thrown into, you know, despair financially. So that really wasn't an issue, but. Yeah, really, mostly I just wanted to make sure that my mind stayed as clear as possible, and that and that my health was intact. Because the truth is as you know, I'm sure, like your emotional stress can really lead to physical like disease, and so I really didn't want to put myself or my family or my wife in a situation where we had something to contend with. It wasn't there before.
Yeah, no, 100%. Makes perfect sense for sure. I'm curious to know what kind of strategies you use to keep your mind staying clear, as you said, and your health intact. I mean, I'm sure it's a concern that we all share and continue to worry about.
I feel like I always consider myself a radical optimist. So I felt like, I was actually very grateful to have the break to sit down. Like, so the idea of not having to go someplace was actually a blessing to just, and then also to really like live in gratitude of what my current circumstances were. So, like, for example, even though we were like indoors, the fact that I have a place, the fact that, I had, a backyard in a, on a nice block that I could like, that the birds were coming to visit more frequently. That I had like a little like robin's nest here, was actually really exciting. You laugh, but it's really true. I was so like, it was really helpful to witness like nature and life in a time where it seemed like everything was like standing still, and to see that still going was like really, I don't know, it was really helpful. And then, but I think, yeah, just like having faith, chanting helped, knowing that everything will pass, and that, we can get to the other side of it. And that, and in challenging moments, they're there for a reason, to make you talk and to make you think, make different choices, or be happy with your choices that you've made, whatever it is. So for me, it was actually like, I don't know. I just have like trust and faith and optimism that it all will work out. And I think that really got me through, a lot. And also, we watched a ton of comedies. Like, I tried, when I realized that the news bringing my anxiety level up, we decided to counteract that with watching things that actually made you feel good. And so for a little while, it was that. It was, let's bring positive things into the space.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I'm so glad you brought up the radical optimism, because I read that in your profile. And I'm curious to know how you developed that, and when.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably been part of me since I was a child, that, just wanting to kind of look for like the happiness in things and the joy. I mean, my name does mean joy has arrived in Yoruba, so I think I probably was anointed with it at birth. But I think, yeah, I think it's a practice that I've just really been intentionally developing. I would say since I was in my 20s, when I was like really delving into writings and teachings about peace um, and grace, and I don't know. I think I've just been intentionally trying to live like that. I always feel like, free will, we have a choice. We have a choice to either, look at something negatively or positively, or like to, put your energy in one or the two directions. And so I always feel like, if I do have a choice, then I'm going to take my chance on the things that are for me to succeed and to win and to be healthy and to be prosperous and to be all of those things. And so it's just a practice that I've developed over like literally more than half of my life.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it sounds like it has really served you well. It speaks so directly to the kind of work I do as an energy coach. I mean, we can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we can respond.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's served you really well. Is there anything that threatens your radical optimism? What might come up against it?
Politics, social injustice, racial inequity, like all of these things challenge my radical optimism. And yet, the idea I love about the word radical is that it is defiant, and in the face of any adversity, And so, when those things come into play, which they will inevitably, right? It's really important to stay focused, and to not get derailed. And sometimes it's hard, Sometimes you have to have the moment of like that frustration, that thing where you just want to like, scream and, throw things. But it doesn't serve moving forward like with any kind of productivity. So,
What is your definition of living in the moment?
um, my definition of living in the moment is really, it's actually tied to what we were just talking about. I think you have to fully recognize the power that we hold and have just by being alive. Yeah, of just life itself. Like I always feel like as long as you wake up and you breathe, then you have an opportunity to do whatever it is that you need to do or want to do. And so for me, to live in the moment is to recognize that power and to move forward accordingly. And like one foot in front of the other, one follow the crumbs, follow the leads. I mean, we always get signs every day we wake up. There's a sign, a spiritual sign of as to like what we're supposed to do, how the day's gonna go, and oftentimes we have the power to how that goes. Let's say you slept wrong. You decide that just because you slept on the wrong side of the bed, or you didn't get enough sleep, that you're going to have a terrible day. Well, then so it is. That is going to be your day, right? But once again, you have choice, right? So I don't know. I feel like literally understanding the power that we have to create the life we want and I mean that from like how our day goes to any big plans, it really, I don't know, it's a really beautiful kind of react to good. It's nice. I like that. I like knowing that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm hearing that there's an element of trusting the process, a real kind of faith in trusting the process. Am I hearing that right?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Trust says trusting where you are in the moment, like not concerning yourself where you want to be in 2 or 3 years. Really, I mean, yes, have maybe an end goal, but sometimes those goals that shifts. I do think that if you know where you want to go, right, that is just that's it's a given, it's there. You don't need to I don't think you need to do anything else other than have that vision and then today just do the task that is in front of you, and to trust that when you put one foot in front of the other, when you take whatever steps that you need to take, that you'll eventually get to your destination. So that to me is what, yeah, living in the moment is. I like the idea of focusing on this moment, like the idea that I said about having power, like recognizing the power that you have in this moment, which is different than not worrying about the past, not worrying about the future, because now you're talking about you're taking the focus out of this moment, right? By even bringing even those words in, power of the moment.
Yeah. No, it's so fascinating to me, and part of the reason I think why I called this, aside from the obvious, tap dancer pun stop time, is that I'm so interested in that moment before you do something. The moment that you feel something, right? So you think the thought, you feel the feeling,
Mm-hmm.
and then you take the action, right? So it's sort of the thought, emotion, action model. I'm so
Yeah.
interested in that moment in between, well, in between all of them, to be honest, but particularly the one before you actually do what you're going to do.
Yeah, that's interesting. And for me, I would say, like, I mean, my relationship to improvisation has grown exponentially over the years, and as a practitioner of tap dancing, and as for people who are listening, obviously tap dancing is a very highly improvisational art form. And I remember when I was younger, I would try to I was not living in the moment. I was trying to manipulate the outcome, or control what my expression was, or to like have a preconceived idea of what or how something was going to go once I hit the stage or once I started to practice, whatever. And I have found that in those years and in those times, those were the least enjoyable experiences. Those were the performances where I left feeling like, oh, why did I do that? Why did I say I didn't do this? I didn't do that. I didn't do the other. And it was because I wasn't being present, and I wasn't responding to what the moment was telling me, and what it was requiring. And now, and I would say in the last 6, 7, maybe even 8 years of being an improv, I have found such freedom because I don't have any expectations, because I have faith and I trust that my technique, my experience, my intention is setting me up well for the moment. And so when I go on stage, it is what it is, and I accept what it is, uh, and that's that. And I always, almost always now end up feeling really satisfied with the experience and the exchange that I have with musicians or with an audience or with myself, you know. And I think when we go into, if the goal is to really be present, then you have to be open to what is, and not concerned with what is not happening, because then, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. So very valid with
Mm.
what you described. I mean, which is not to say, oh, if you want to improvise, you're going to go out and just, throw everything away. You can do that if you've done the work, and if you have something to draw from, and all of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, with one being not true at all and 10 being absolutely true, how true do you believe the principle, life is a perfect adventure, a game that cannot be won or lost, only played?
Uh, it's so funny because I guess I don't often think about life in that way. So let me
Yeah.
think about this. But let's
Yeah.
see. It can't be won. Only play. Yeah, I don't think that, like, I think if you're alive, you're winning. So I would say, it's not
Oh,
about I don't know.
interesting. Oh, I love
Maybe.
that. I love that. Okay, what if we were to break it down? What do you think about life as a perfect adventure? Is that easier?
I mean, perfect. What is perfection? Look at me. I'm
Yeah.
like the existentialist. What is
No,
perfection? Um, I do think life is a wonderful adventure. I don't know if I think I maybe I take I would have to get into what the word perfect is, and I'm certain that in certain religions, like, maybe like perfection is absolute, in that,
yeah,
everything is perfect. So
I love that.
if I were to go with that philosophy, I would say yeah, life is a perfect adventure. But I do think that word might shift things.
Hmm.
I think life is for sure an adventure.
Yeah,
uh, to make it as perfect for us as we possibly can be.
yeah. Words are just so important, right? And the words that people use, and
Hmm.
how it triggers people, and we choose what
Hmm.
words we say, don't we? And there's that whole thinking before you speak, and
Yeah. I
think
mean,
before.
words are really powerful.
Yeah, no, they really, really are. No, I wanted to ask you, what gets you up in the morning? What excites you? You know, are you a morning person?
Oh, I am. I love getting up. I love that I can get up. No, I do. I like mornings. But I was, as I mentioned before, I was in Puerto Rico for like 3 weeks, and the sun just like is really bright very early. So like at 6
Mm,
a.m., 5:30, 6 a.m., it's already like, fully full. And I love that. It is like one of my favorite times of the day. Even here in New York, where I loved, even during the pandemic time, like I have a room in the front of the house that's just like it's like our office, and I would go in there. I would get up early and roll out the yoga mat and like either stretch or just sit. And I like that things are just beginning to stir up, or they haven't stirred up yet. So there's like a kind of a peace and a quiet associated with it. So for me, lately, I love not knowing what is going to happen. In that, I love that there's possibility for magic in every day, and that you might go to bed that day and have experienced something that whether it be a phone call or an email or whatever, a job offer, or you heard from a friend that you haven't spoken to in a long time. Like, there's so many things that can happen that are really great that you didn't even account for, and that to me is an exciting game to play.
Yeah, for sure. So, I'm curious, what what scares you?
Scares me. I don't know. What I love about that question is that it's not something that I entertain often, fear. And yet I would be, lying and, saying that I haven't had things that are scary, but I just don't entertain it so frequently. And so it's not something that's off the tip of my tongue. I would say, I think can I say what used to scare me?
Yeah, for sure.
What used to scare me and doesn't anymore was the idea that I would have lived a life that had either no meaning or made no impact. Um, and 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 I don't feel like that anymore. you know. So that makes me feel really fulfilled in this moment. I think about, I don't know. I think it's kind of good that I don't have it off the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, I mean, that's your radical optimism, isn't it? And sitting here now with perspective, you can see that you did feel that way, but you no longer have the fear. Do you have a sense now why that is, why you felt that way then, that maybe you wouldn't make a contribution?
When I think about like my either like personal heroes, or I think about like yeah, the people that I admired and looked up to, and I felt the impact that they had on me. People like Gregory Hines, and he's the one person that really comes to mind, professionally, artistically. I felt as if though, yeah, I don't know. I just wondered, would I ever make a mark like that? Would what seemed what was my calling, or what really moved me and brought me joy, was it enough to be a citizen of the world? Was it enough to be an artist? I'm not like curing cancer. I'm dancing and choreographing and performing. Is that enough? Is that enough for people? Is that important? Do How does that contribute to society, to the world? Like, how does it matter? Like, all of these things I was just sort of grappling with.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, so, and obviously, I mean, I do feel like that now when I see my students who are like grown and and successful, and to see them react to me now, like, and how they felt very supported, and they felt loved and encouraged, and I feel it makes me feel good to know that I was a part of that for them, so that they can go and be their best selves in their lives. And when I started doing, I remember when I wrote my show that I performed at Spoleto Arts Festival in 2017, and to have so many people from varied life paths and experiences and gender and race come up to me and see themselves in my experience, and
Mm.
how it opened and illuminated something for them. Then I started to really, really, truly, I don't know, I started to feel like I was on the right path.
Yeah, amazing. When I'm listening to your story and thinking about the fears you had, I can clearly hear the gremlin or the inner critic saying, gosh, you'll never be that good. And yet, standing on the precipice of taking that leap, becoming an artist.
Mm-hmm.
Was there some doubt about whether being an artist was enough in your life purpose?
In your life.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yes, you got to the word that I was thinking, which is about purpose. So I think when I first started dancing, I thought, yeah, am I ever going to be really good or good enough? For sure, there was that sort of,
Of course.
what's the point? Like, do I really do this? Like, can I be as good as I want to be? That was certainly something that, when I was younger, much younger, came into my head. I never wanted to be anything else other than an artist or a performer or an actor or a dancer. So it wasn't that I didn't see the uh, fulfillment in being an artist, but I think that I hadn't connected it yet with a purpose beyond the immediate gratification I was getting. And I think that's something that came much later. Like when you're young, I mean, I don't know, I'll just speak for myself, but when you're young, you're just like concerned with like you're learning the thing, and then you're navigating the culture of the thing, and then you are trying to be like like sustainable. Like, can I pay my rent? Can I eat doing this thing? And there's that survival sort of mode. But it's pretty much like me. I have this need to express, and that's what art is, right? It comes from, it starts from within. It starts from ourselves. But I think that what I was starting the question was like, okay, what is the purpose though? What is my purpose? What is my purpose in doing this? And that is something that has come. That clarity is something that has come over time. I think once I locked into that, everything has sort of opened up.
Yeah. It sounds like you were able to connect what you were doing, which was something you were passionate about and committed to, but with a value of yours. And I'm curious to know what value that was that you connected it to assign purpose to, in connection to what you're doing.
Well, when we speak about doctors, for example, like anybody can say, oh, their purpose, they're here to heal, to heal people. It's a very clear and important purpose, right? And I think with artists, it's different, and it can be different. For me personally, I think that my connection is that this isn't a gift equal to that of being able to heal, equal to that of being an incredible mathematician and who, become an engineer and architect and whatever, fight whatever stock market, whatever it is, Steve Jobs, whatever. I think that for me, this purpose of dancing, this tap dancing, is really connected to my obsession with the communication and self-expression and being able to be fully seen for who you are, to be yourself, and to share that unapologetically, to share your joy and to show the spectrum of what human emotion, validate our experiences and our story. And it's one of the reasons why my work contains words, and it contains all of the things, because I feel like it's a life. And my life matters. And if my life matters, so does yours, so.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. What I'm hearing from you is your value of expressing yourself, your value of opening up opportunities for people to unleash their own, right? The moment almost stands out. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't just one moment, but you did describe that particular moment where people were giving you feedback about your one-woman show in the festival, right? So what was it about, sort of, not necessarily that particular moment, but that time in your life when you started to listen and to look differently at what you were doing? Because you didn't really change what you were doing. What gave you the perspective to see it differently and to understand what your purpose was through the dance?
Well, I think what was really clear then, especially because that particular show did sort of chart my experiences up to that point in my life. But I think the aha moment was to realize that what I was giving an offering of myself, literally, to, and sharing that with an audience. And I did not alter or manipulate those experiences, or I was literally as authentic and as raw as you could be, and to know that I was enough just like that. I didn't have to play into any other version of what I thought maybe somebody wanted me to be, or I don't have to dance like this person or act like that person or write like this person or perform like that other person. That I literally, like, that my life and my who I am and how I am is literally enough. And it sounds so cliche and so true. It's like, to know that it was literally me that was able to connect with so many people of varied backgrounds, that made me realize the value in authenticity.
Absolutely. I mean, that is crystal clear. The authenticity of it. That is a vehicle that's like, you're trusting yourself loving yourself. I mean, it's not cliche.
It's so much easier. It's so much easier. I don't know, people like, I see people like try to twist themselves into a pretzel to be like somebody else or what other, and it's just like, that's too much work. It's so much better to just really be yourself and operate from a point of realness, of fact.
It's holistic. It's not just your tap dancing. It's all of you. It permeates every bit of who you are, from my point of view.
Yeah,
You know, and
it does.
and that's what's beautiful. I mean, your dancing is exquisite, and all the work you put into your art and all of that. But at the end of the day, there's lots of people that are really great dancers that put in the work. But at the end of the day, what we're seeing when we see you is you. Exactly what you described.
Mm.
You've taken it, you've honored it, you've given it grace, you've shared it, you've taught it, you've used it as a vehicle to help people. I mean, what you do with young women. I mean, talk about taking your gifts and using them purposefully. No, really. I mean, it's really, really beautiful. All right.
Okay.
Let's do a little rapid fire. Are you ready?
I am ready. Go ahead. Mhm.
Great. Okay, here we go. What makes you hungry?
Hungry? Dancing.
Sad?
Racism.
Inspired?
Nature.
Frustrated?
People who don't listen.
Motivated?
Watching athletes.
Mad?
Ignorance.
And grateful?
God.
What are the top 3 things that happened so far today for you?
Of today, man, I reconciled my QuickBooks. So I got my accounting together. My college friend called me. I spoke to her for an hour today, and I hadn't caught up with her for a little bit, so it was nice to talk to her. And 3, this is like a practical thing, but I'm very happy about it. I booked a contractor to replace my roof.
That's awesome. What are you most looking forward to?
In general?
Tell me what you're most looking forward to today, and then we'll do it in general.
What I'm most looking forward to today, at this point, let's see, happy hour. which will be soon. And in general,
Yeah.
2 things. One is on a personal level, achieving achieving sustainability as an artist is something that I'm really looking forward to. And the other thing that I'm really looking forward to, and it's starting to happen more and more day by day, is to see tap dancing being spoken about in so many spaces with integrity and pride and appreciation.
Amen. That's awesome. Ayodele, thanks so much for taking the time to be in the moment with me. I truly appreciate you.
Oh, thank you for asking me. I appreciate it.
I've been speaking today with Ayodele Casel. Stay healthy and happy, everyone, and remember to live in the moment. In music, stop time is that beautiful moment where the band is suspended in rhythmic unison, supporting the soloist to express their individuality. In the moment, I encourage you to take that time and create your own rhythm. Until next time, I'm Lisa Hopkins. Thanks for listening.